Sit back, buckle up, grab your popcorn, class is in session. The Departed, one of the finest crime dramas we have ever had the pleasure of laying our eyes on. It's a Boston crime drama that subverted everyone's expectations. And while films like Goodfellas and Casino were all-time great mob movies, The Departed was something different, more subdued, more ominous, and inadvertently more gritty. It's one of Scorsese's highest grossing films ever made. By any metric, a grand success. Now, did you know that The Departed is actually a complete remake? Like the whole movie, shot for shot in terms of story beats, it has the exact same premise, the same double agent setup, and everything remade from a Hong Kong film that came out 4 years before. This here is Infernal Affairs. A 2001 slick Hong Kong crime film directed by Andrew Law and Alan Mak. And yes, this is the movie The Departed was based on. Same story, same DNA, but if you watch them back to back, it's clear that they're not really the same movie at all. I remember recently watching Infernal Affairs, constantly comparing it to The Departed, but I slowly realized that I needed to stop doing this. These movies wore the same clothes, but inside those clothes was an entirely different person. A complete different movie. Because here's the thing, The Departed is an epic crime thriller. Infernal Affairs is like a Greek tragedy. Same plot, entirely different soul. And today, that's exactly what we're going to get into. So let's quickly get everyone up to speed, because we need to understand what both films are actually doing before we can talk about why they are different from each other. So The Departed, it follows two men. Billy Costigan, a cop who goes undercover inside the Irish mob, and Colin Sullivan, a criminal who infiltrates the police department. Both moles, both trying to find the other. Neither knows who they're actually looking for. It's a ticking time bomb of a premise. Scorsese takes his sweet time building the whole world around it. We get Boston, the politics, the mob culture. We get the father figures, Frank Costello on one side, Captain Queenan on the other. Scorsese is generous with his setup. You feel the weight of this world before the tension even kicks in. Now, Infernal Affairs does the exact same thing in about 10 minutes. No, seriously. In the opening sequence, we see both protagonists as teenagers. One gets kicked out of the police academy and placed undercover in a triad. The other one planted inside the police force by his triad boss. Done. Let's go. The movie does not wait for anyone. And it works. But it also means Infernal Affairs operates on a completely different level from the very beginning. Less world building, more existential dread. You're not here to understand the city and its people, you're here to watch two men slowly lose their sanity. Now here's where things get a lot more interesting and maybe even juicy. Because even though both films tell the exact same story, the way they tell basically means we get two whole different movies. Let's start with the father figures in both films. Because The Departed is obsessed with them. Frank Costello and Captain Queenan are not just bosses, they are more like surrogate fathers. And both Costigan and Sullivan are essentially orphaned young men looking for somewhere to belong. There is even this small detail that kind of confirms it for me, where both Frank and Queenan at different points make sure their sons are eating.
Ben, get him a couple loaves of bread, a couple half gallons of milk. You like bologna and cheese? Give him some cold cuts, throw some mayo in.
It's such a small thing, but it tells you everything about what Scorsese's building. A movie about sons and fathers, about legacy, about what you leave behind. And that's not an accident. Think about the title, The Departed. Think about how last names are used constantly throughout the whole film.
You Johnny Sullivan's kid?
Think about Frank's whole opening monologue about controlling your environment, about taking, and about building something that outlasts you.
Years ago we had the church. That was only a way of saying we had each other.
And then, think about the last thing Sullivan says to Frank.
Is that what this is about? All that murdering and fucking and no sons.
That line hits a bit different when you realize the whole movie has been about legacy the entire time. And this is where Infernal Affairs is completely different from The Departed, because it too has father figures. But that's not what the movie is about. The triad boss Sam and Inspector Wong exist more as handlers, as entities that confine our protagonists to their own worlds. The movie is less concerned about where these men came from and way more focused on their descent into hell. And that's actually right there in the title itself. Infernal Affairs. Infernal, as in hellish, as in a state of constant suffering. These two men are in hell. Not a dramatic, explosive hell, but a more quiet, grinding, everyday hell where you wake up every morning and have to remember which version of yourself you're supposed to be today. Chan and Lao are not looking for fathers. They're just trying to survive their own personal hells. And that difference in focus changes the entire feeling of both films. Now let's talk about how these films actually look and feel, because this is where Infernal Affairs does something genuinely fascinating. On the surface, it looks like a classic Hong Kong, sleek action film. The pacing, the genre setup, the triad, you go in expecting something explosive and cool. And then the movie just slows down. It gets philosophical. It gets quiet. There's this almost trance-like quality to it. Especially in the scenes between Chan and Lau, the drama is internal. We see both men's voyage into hell. The tension is existential. It is a thriller that is more interested in your soul rather than your heart rate. And the cinematic language changes from being this cool action thriller to a more meaningful one with long takes, silences, scenes that breathe, the Morse code sequences alone where Lau tries to figure out the code. And then you realize what that means for Chan on the other side. The Departed by comparison is louder, messier, more chaotic, which is completely intentional. Scorsese builds a universe that feels like it could explode at any given second. The editing is restless. The performance is huge. Even the music is constantly pushing. It's maximalist in the best possible way. Now something less positive for me. An extra thing worth mentioning. The love triangle in The Departed, I will be honest, not my favorite part of the movie. The fact that she ends up connected to both Costigan and Sullivan always felt a bit convenient to me. A bit soap opera. Infernal Affairs handles this way more elegantly, I would say. Both Chan and Lau have someone they care about, someone they are trying to protect or get back to. It is quieter, more personal, and a bit more believable, in my opinion. And this brings us to the endings of both movies, because this is where the two films truly separate themselves. Now, a quick spoiler warning for both movies. I'm gonna spoil some things about the ending, so for anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled about anything that has to do with the ending, just skip the video from here. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. So, let's get into it. The Departed, it ends in chaos. Loud, brutal, almost darkly comedic in how relentless it is. It feels like the world Scorsese built finally just implodes on itself. And it works. It absolutely works. But it is a very Hollywood kind of tragedy. Infernal Affairs, on the other hand, it ends differently. It ends with this quiet, sober devastation. The crooked cop surviving and trying to go straight, while the undercover cop never gets to see the other side. There is no explosion, no catharsis, just the weight of every lie these men ever told finally settling on their shoulders. It is bleak in a way that only great Asian cinema can be bleak. Not melodramatic, just honest and real. And that for me is the whole argument in one moment. The Departed is Scorsese taking this story and making it his own, making it bigger, louder, richer in character and universe. And he succeeds completely, but Infernal Affairs never needed any of that. It just needed two men, a lie they could not escape, and an ending that did not let anyone off the hook. So is Departed the best remake ever made? Probably. Is it also the worst? In one specific way, yeah. Because in making it his own, Scorsese had to give up the very thing that made the original so quietly devastating. Like I said, same clothes, different person.
那一段被遗忘的时光。